Good morning, Woodward. We're here today with Jake Merrick, and he's running for governor, and we have just a few questions for him. So let's get started.
Hey, thank you.
Actually, you were at High Plains last night, and I
Yes.
wasn't able to make it. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah,
Did you hear anything from the voters? Was it big turnout?
absolutely.
Okay.
I didn't get an official count. I estimate 25, 30 people in the room.
Okay.
But so I felt it was a good turnout.
Yes.
And, definitely heard from the voters. My goal in these meetings is to inform them of who I am, where I stand on some things, and then just have a dialogue and question and answer time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely got some good questions. And, what I found is, whether I'm in eastern Oklahoma or western Oklahoma, there's a lot of common concern.
Mhm.
Some things are unique. We have more windmills out here, more ag and ranch and farmland. But common concerns like education, like healthcare access, these kinds of things. So these are some of the same questions that were asked at the meeting last night.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So why are you running for governor?
That's the big
now?
question, right?
Yes.
I'll tell you, my wife and I both have really carried a vision for the state. It was birthed, I would say, 13 years ago when we adopted our daughter out of DHS.
Okay.
And we saw the problems in the system, and we really had a heart for the families of Oklahoma. So we started praying for 77 counties and for the families in 77 counties. I believe that the nuclear family has really been targeted and broken down over the years, and we can trace back a lot of the roots to a lot of our issues to the breakdown of the nuclear family. So we've really just been praying over that for years and have had a statewide vision. My time in the Oklahoma Senate really just solidified that I want to see systemic change and transformation in Oklahoma. And that's why I carried this statewide vision. And now is the time, because we see Trump at the helm at the federal level, leading the way, pushing power back to the states. So right now is the time to have a strong state leader to take Oklahoma forward, to assert state sovereignty, and to do what is right for us here in Oklahoma.
Okay. So what sets you apart from the other Republican candidates?
Yeah, well, I would start with the funding. I have made a strong stance not to take any money from lobbyists or PACs, and so I'm depending completely on the individual donations from Oklahomans.
Okay.
And I'm doing that because I really believe the corruption and the questions around politics in general starts in the campaign, and how we do the campaign and how we get elected into office. And I believe just too many times money is the corrupting factor. It starts to direct things, starts to buy people out. So once people get elected, now they're beholden to the people who got them there, who paid the bills. And I just want the people of Oklahoma to know I'm not bought. There's no strings attached. There's no hooks in me. And when I get elected, I'll be obligated only to God, the Constitution, and the people of Oklahoma.
Well, I really appreciate you reaching out to us and calling us and wanting to do a live, because
Yes.
I had, so I had Charles McCall here and we got to talk, but there was another candidate that came to Woodward, and they told us obviously 24 hours before. And then they did not tell us that they were coming in the morning and not in the afternoon at the airport. So I was a little disappointed about that, but I really thank you for reaching out to us and wanting to talk.
Well, I appreciate your time. Absolutely.
So I kind of already went over, you were at High Plains last night.
Yeah.
You want to eliminate property taxes?
Yeah.
So how will the state fund school and public services?
Yeah. That is the question. But if you take a step back, you see on my website, I say principle over politics.
Okay.
That's the way I operate. It's all about what is righteous. The Bible says that when the righteous are in power, the people rejoice. And so the big question is, what is right? And when people pay off their property, and then there's still a threat of them losing their property because they can't pay the taxes, I don't believe that's righteous. I believe that's wrong. And I believe it's theft. And so we start with what's right. And we need to correct that grievance, that people can actually lose the property that they've worked so hard and they paid off. Maybe they've inherited. Maybe they want to pass it down to their children, but they can't because they lose it. We're seeing farms and ranches being lost because they can't pay property taxes. I think that's wrong. So we need to correct that grievance first and do what is right as a state. And then we can talk about what money we have left to do what needs to be done. Okay. Let's don't talk about what needs to be done and then go find the money to do it. Let's talk about how much money we have that we've collected righteously, and then we'll see what we can be done with that. So we have a state surplus, billions in the coffers. Okay, let's start there. Let's start talking about this DOGE effort. We've seen all of the fraud, waste, and abuse that was uncovered at the federal level. We've started that process here. STID has started it and has done some cleanup. And I think we could go further with that and most likely find the funds to take care of our local schools. Okay. And I also want to put the burden on the local communities too. I always want to look local first. I think the answers are solved best locally. And talk about how can communities and counties work to fund their local school districts. So these are some starting points. I don't have all the answers, but again, I want to start with what's right. I think it's right to end property tax.
Okay. How would you, in note of that, how would you balance the traditional values with protecting individual rights?
Well, I think they go hand in hand. I think traditional values do protect individual rights. Okay. And traditional values are the values that this country was founded on. And these are the values of due process. And as we get back to the traditional values, I believe we're going to see those individual rights protected like never before. Right now, we're having individual rights violated by the growth of government, the intrusion of government, the growth of bureaucracy. And as we rein government back in and prioritize individual freedom and individual rights, that's traditional, and that will protect them.
Okay. Speaking on that, I actually don't have a question on our list, but did you see the recent Oklahoma Water Resources Board put out a new study on the aquifer, and so they're doing like a new groundwater limit. So are you in favor of that or not? Because they're cutting like new groundwater permits into half, and so not full. So they're saying it's good for like if your neighbor were to come next to you and want to drill a well, so to protect yourself. Do you think that that's protecting yourself as a community member, or do you think it's government overreach?
That's a great question. I did not see that report, so I'm going to have to look into that. I know that there is great concern about our aquifers and the depletion of water. And I spoke with someone in the water well business who was talking about the technology that you can recharge the aquifers. And so with the surplus of rain that we had this year, with so much runoff that just went to waste, about how to capture that and recharge the aquifer. So I think that's a fantastic idea. Okay. But to the question, I need to think into that some more, because I am very much about limiting government. And water, of course, we share it, especially when we're talking about the aquifers. Yes. And there's concerns, of course, with the marijuana grows and the massive amount of water it's taking for those. And of course, we've got to eliminate those illegal grows, those foreign-owned grows. We need to get China out of America. I say that wrong. We need to ensure that the Chinese aren't buying up Oklahoma land, and taking vital natural resources like water. But I do have initial concerns with limiting farmers and ranchers on how much water they can use on their own land. Okay. My initial concern is that does not register. That seems like overreach to me. Okay. But I would like to look into that further.
We did just a recent article on them.
Okay.
They put in a public notice, so that's why we also need to I'm going to do a shameless plug for public notices and taking notice of public notices in newspapers.
Yeah.
So I think we've basically covered all of our, if elected, what's the first thing you'll do in office? Is there anything that you have in mind in your first 100 days?
Yeah, I think we have to start with life. And it's, I think, well known at this point that I'm a strong advocate for life and opposed to abortion. Okay. And right now we're seeing more abortions happening in the state of Oklahoma than before the Dobbs decision that overturned Roe versus Wade. It closed down all of the surgical clinics. There's no surgical abortions happening right now, but there's a massive amount of abortions happening through the pill. And this is a complicated issue because individuals can order those pills in from out of state, out of country. But because of that and the ease of access, we're seeing massive amounts of abortions happening still in the state of Oklahoma. I spoke recently with a counselor who counsels abortion-minded women, and she says she's counseling more women today than before Roe versus Wade was overturned. And so it's a big concern to me that life is still being taken, that the innocent life in the womb is being taken. So that would be a priority for me to end that practice and ban that pill here in the state of Oklahoma. And then I think there's a big concern concerning property rights and the green energy move. I know out here in Western Oklahoma, there's thousands of windmills. There's lots of concerns about the regulation of that industry, the federal and state subsidies concerning solar. And so I think in that first 100 days, something needs to be done to bring regulation into those industries and to protect property rights, to protect our farm and ranch land and the natural resources we talk about that I think it impacts. Okay. So that's a top priority for me in the first 100 days.
Perfect. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming in. Yes. And if you guys have any questions for Jake, you can drop them below and maybe he can take a look and answer them later on. Thank you so much for tuning in. And this is Reel Woodward.